Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 156 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast. I'm Christine.
And I'm Sam.
Here's what's coming up in today's show. In our Noteworthy segment, we'll be looking at some new USDA rules for school lunches and talk about what they mean for students that want vegan options.
Our main topic is a discussion on a piece written by Mariann Sullivan, animal law expert, on the effects of grief in animal advocacy.
But before we get into all of that, let's talk a little bit about what we've been up to.
Oh, yes, let's. On Friday, we went to our very first Meatless Raffle.
The Meatless Raffle. Yes. And this was a fundraiser for Penelope's Place Sanctuary.
Yes, it was.
Yep. And we were a sponsor of the raffle.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God, this was so much fun.
This was crazy fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I really didn't know what to expect. I had never done an event like this before.
Right.
And so I really didn't know what we were getting into. This was just a blast.
It really was. We didn't win anything. But
we didn't, but who cares?
It didn't matter. We had a lot of fun. It was for a great cause. I did have the fortunate opportunity to be holding somebody else's money too. Somebody that was involved in the proceedings that wanted to bid on things. Mm-hmm. Well, you buy raffle tickets. It's not really bidding. Mm-hmm. That wanted to buy raffle tickets for things, but she was occupied.
Yes.
Actually like turning the little thing with the tickets in it and all that jazz. So I had somebody else's money too, so that we had double the fun.
Yeah. So Christine was playing for our friend Annette and I was playing for us. And so what this was, it was an evening of 14 rounds of prizes, basically. And in each round, there were a certain number of packages that they were giving out. So, for example, one package was an assortment of vegan jerky. Right. And in another, it was all the stuff you need to make really great vegan breakfast sandwiches. So it was some vegan bacon and some vegan egg and some vegan tofu scramble.
I wanted that one.
I know you did.
Yeah.
And I put in $10 for that one to try to help you get it. And it just didn't work.
Oh, well.
And some really good English muffins. So yeah, we were hoping to get that. I was hoping to win the vegan dessert package.
That was also a very good package.
Which had cheesecake and peach pie and an assortment of Seventh Heaven chocolates.
Yeah.
And I was really
chocolate cake, an entire chocolate cake.
Yeah.
From Wegmans, vegan chocolate cake. And those cakes are good.
They really are.
And the really cool thing is the first rounds have like multiple winners. There's like 14 winners.
Yeah.
Then it goes down as the prizes get more like enticing. Right. The number of winners go down.
Yes.
And the cost of the tickets goes up a little bit.
Right.
Because these are pricier items. Which makes it kind of fun.
Yes.
Yeah,
it was really, really fun. We were sitting at a really great table with a couple of, one return friend who is becoming a better friend, a closer friend.
Yeah, Christine from the Vegan Witch.
That Vegan Witch.
If you're in the Buffalo area, she does a lot of pop-ups and local markets, and she sells all kinds of really cool witchy things, jewelries and scents and all kinds of stuff, all vegan.
Yes. And I actually have a beautiful set of her witch bells on my office door at work. So that's really cool. And a good friend of hers, Christy.
Yeah.
We just had an absolute blast with them. And we were also seated next to Lynn and Mike and Sarah.
Yeah, we had a good table.
And Mike and Sarah just kept winning stuff.
They won a lot. And
they really did.
They were a good time, too. They were so fun.
Really awesome. But it was so funny because on our end of the table, it seemed like everybody around us was winning, but we just weren't. Until finally, Christy won that really great soy package with all that crazy tofu.
Yeah, she got the big soy boy. I don't know if it's like a 5-pound block of soy boy tofu. Huge. And
she took a picture of herself hugging it.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was funny.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
But so just awesome people. I mean, and I have never before been in a room with probably close to 100 other vegans.
Yeah, I was really happy to see that it was so well attended.
It was so well attended.
Yeah.
And food was provided by the fabulous people at Buffalo's V-Spot. So
Yep.
thank you, Natina.
Yeah, Natina made pizza for everybody, and then they had some vegan chicken nuggets, the Tyndall nuggets, which are not really available in stores. I think they only provide them to restaurants and stuff, but now the vegan grocery store is going to start carrying them. And they had a cash bar, which was nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So it was just a really great evening.
Yeah.
So much fun, so much laughter. And I'm really hoping that Penelope's Place made some decent money.
I'm sure they did.
I'm sure they did too. There were a lot of people buying tickets for each round.
Everybody was buying tickets, and then they had 50/50s, and they had larger raffle. They had this one raffle that was supposed to be like the liquor basket, but there was so much liquor donated that they ended up turning it into a table full of liquor.
Yes.
And our friend Annette won that.
Yes, indeed.
Actually, I won it for her.
Right.
And so we're like, party at Annette's house.
Well, yes, because she won not only the booze table, but the charcuterie board.
Yeah.
And so party at Annette's.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So,
but anyway, it was really fun.
Just such a great night. And I'm already excited to put that on our calendar for next year.
Yeah. And, big thanks to Vanessa and all the people that volunteered for providing us with just such an entertaining night. It was a really good time.
It was so much fun.
Looking forward to next year.
Absolutely.
What else did we do? Oh, then Saturday, in my family, we've decided we're just going to start clumping people's birthdays together and just have one big thing. So this is what we call the summer birthday people's birthday bash.
Yes.
And so it's me and Sam and my nephew.
Yes. And so Christine's birthday is in July, Trey's birthday is in August, and mine is in September, just before the autumnal equinox.
Yeah.
So we count as the family's summer birthdays.
Yeah.
So we got together at Trey and Savannah's on Saturday, and we had a wonderful dinner.
Yeah. So my nephew made this really great gluten-free pasta dish. With veg and stuff, and it was so good. It was creamy with all vegetables and stuff, and he made with gluten-free shells because my sister and my niece-in-law, Savannah, are both gluten-free. And my sister made these fabulous roasted potatoes with vegan sausage. So good. And these awesome Brussels sprouts that she roasted and then put in, she made like toasted
maple glazed sunflower seeds.
Yeah, maple glazed sunflower seeds that she made. She knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, the Brussels sprouts were absolutely phenomenal.
I was like dreaming of the Brussels sprouts and the potatoes the next day. I'm like, I'm going to make those.
Then we also had a big salad.
Yeah,
and then,
we brought the giant salad.
As we usually do.
And all the snack foods.
And then for dessert, we had some brownie sundaes with Savannah's absolutely spectacular brownies.
Yes, she can bake.
Yes.
She can vegan bake.
She can bake. And the thing is, when Savannah is baking, it's vegan and gluten-free.
Yeah.
And so...
You'd never know. These brownies were thick.
Oh my God, they were huge.
Rich. And she got the crackly top on them. And they were moist. And oh my God, so good with some vegan vanilla ice cream on top and some peanut butter syrup.
Oh, it was so good.
Oh my God.
Just absolutely perfect. So we really need to get Savannah's brownie recipe.
I know. I keep meaning to ask her for it.
So we have to get that because those are probably the best vegan brownies I've had.
Good.
Yeah, really fantastic.
They were so good, she knocked it out of the park. And then we played some Jackbox games afterwards.
We did. Played some Jackbox games. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then yesterday was Sunday, and we had just such an incredibly chill day.
It was a Sunday. Yeah.
Like an honest to God Sunday. And so what Christine gave me for my birthday at the party on Saturday is this wonderful book that just recently came out, and it's called What's Next? And it's a backstage pass to The West Wing its cast and crew, and its enduring legacy of service. Now, I'm sure we've mentioned more than once on this show that we are both what would be called wingnuts.
Yeah, we're huge West Wing fans.
Yes, huge devotees of the West Wing, and actually of pretty much anything Aaron Sorkin has ever written.
Yeah, I mean, anything he touches is usually really good.
It usually is, yes, absolutely. And so this book was written by Melissa Fitzgerald and Mary McCormack, both of whom were actors on The West Wing. Melissa Fitzgerald played Carol, who was the assistant to Press Secretary C.J. Craig. And Mary McCormack played Kate Harper, who was the assistant national security advisor in seasons 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
And so it's just a beautifully written book. It's touching. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's sad. Like all kinds of references to lines from episodes that if you are a true wingnut, you're going to know exactly what those things mean and why they were included.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it when you're done with it.
It's really just fantastic. So I want to say, and I read about half of it yesterday. I'm about 300 pages in, and I'm really looking forward to another day where I can just curl up and finish it because it really just is incredibly well done.
I'm so glad that it's well done because I was a little unsure. I actually pre-ordered it when I saw an interview with Mary McCormack, and she was talking about this book that they were writing, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then she said it is available for pre-order, and that was like last February.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, I hope this is good. And then we saw another interview with her and Martin Sheen.
Yeah.
And Martin was talking about how good the book was. And I'm like, oh, that's good. That bodes well.
Well, and the thing is, in that interview with Mary McCormack and Martin Sheen, that was the first I'd heard of the book.
I know. And I'm like, oh God, I hope she doesn't run to her Kindle app and buy it.
Well, and I didn't, because we're in that time of year, this late summer time of year. Once we get to the middle to end of September, the rule becomes in this house, you can't buy anything for yourself.
Yeah.
Because the holidays are coming.
Yeah.
And so for me, usually that cutoff is my birthday. But because my birthday is still to come,
right?
It's in a couple of weeks. I kind of say as of September 1st, I can't buy myself anything because my birthday is coming, and then the giving season is coming.
Yes.
And so I didn't. I went and put it on my wish list.
You did?
I did.
Did you take it off?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Good.
I did take it off. But I'm just so thrilled that I have this book, and it is so beautifully done. And I mean, I teared up. I laughed out loud multiple times. Like, it's an incredibly easy, engaging read. You don't want to put it down. So if there are any fellow wingnuts out there, I cannot recommend this book more. You really should pick it up.
Well, that's a shining endorsement.
Yes, it is.
I'm just really glad that it's good, that you like it.
It's awesome. Yeah. It really and truly made my day.
We don't have a recipe this week. On my outline under recipe of the week, it just says nah.
Well, I mean, we don't.
Nah.
We had a jam-packed weekend.
We did.
So, this weekend we don't have anything on the calendar.
No.
So we should be able to do a recipe this week.
Yeah. So let's just jump into our Noteworthy section and talk about these new USDA rules that expand the vegan options in school meals.
And this is coming from the Vegconomist, the vegan business magazine, and this was published on September 4th. The USDA's new school meal standards will give greater access to nutritious foods for vegetarian and vegan children and those with dietary restrictions. This is an important step, as research indicates that school meals are American school children's most important food source. The new rules, which took effect on July 1st, 2024, were released by USDA's Food and Nutrition Service, consistent with the 2020 to 2025 dietary guidelines for Americans. They aim to improve the nutritional quality of school meals and other USDA child nutrition programs. Under the new rules, schools can combine grains, meats, and meat alternatives as meal components. Beans, peas, and lentils can replace meat at lunch, and cafeterias can offer dishes such as black bean burgers, stir-fry with tofu, falafel pita, and pepper slices with hummus. The specific requirement is to provide 1/2 cup over the week. And I'm not sure what they mean by that.
1/2 cup over the week. Well, that's not very much.
No, that's not sufficient. So if we're talking about beans and lentils and tofu as a protein replacement, which would make sense, they're going to need more than 1/2 cup of protein over the course of a week.
Maybe they mean each day of the week.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Even if beans, peas, and lentils are offered as meat alternatives, schools must still provide enough vegetables to meet the daily and weekly requirements. These standards also apply to after-school snacks. Another gain is that bean dip, including hummus, is now exempt from the total fat standard. This exemption applies to dips made from beans, peas, or lentils. Schools can now sell bean dip as a smart snack, but are not required to make this change. The proposal to exempt hummus was widely supported, highlighting its nutritional value: fiber, protein, iron, magnesium, and healthy fats. The USDA explains that bean dip was chosen over hummus to provide clarity and inclusivity for various bean-based dips.
That's good.
Yeah, I can get behind that. Previously, nuts and seeds were required to be served alongside other meats or meat alternatives, but now they can fully meet the meat or meat alternative component for all meal types, breakfast, lunch, and supper, in the USDA child nutrition programs and at snack times. Program operators can choose to meet the full component with nuts and seeds or combine them. It is worth noting that serving nuts and seeds is optional, not mandated. According to the USDA, stakeholders largely supported the change, emphasizing the nutritional benefits of nuts and seeds, such as protein, vitamin E, fiber, minerals, and healthy fats.
And this is the part I was most interested in.
Milk, along with fruits and grains, continues to be a required component for special breakfast programs. The USDA has retained the current requirements in the new standards, allowing fat-free, low-fat flavored, and unflavored milk. Vegan students and those with allergies can request plant-based milk.
This is the part that kills me. Why? I mean, we all know why milk is required. It's to hold up the industry. But why do kids have to request plant-based milk? Why can they not just put out plant-based milk along with the dairy milk that is a requirement?
Right.
In all schools.
Absolutely.
Just put out small containers of oat milk or almond milk or soy milk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do kids have to request it? Because most kids are not going to if they have to. Just make it available.
Yeah, that does seem to be a much simpler solution. I completely agree. Lastly, child nutrition programs can label foods, indicating whether they are locally grown, caught, or raised. Additionally, schools can offer traditional indigenous foods, such as vegetables like yams and plantains, to replace grain requirements. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
I do like that component a whole lot. Yeah. That's fabulous. All of this is a game changer for the country's diverse student populations, said the School Superintendents Association president, Gustavo Balderas.
This is partly good news, but I wish they would just take it a step further. And like I said, just offer plant milks. Just offer plant milks so that kids don't have to request them. And it doesn't say, I know some schools, and I think this is on a school-to-school district basis, that some schools require children to have doctor's excuses in order to get plant milk.
Yeah, we have seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why can they not just, if the USDA is creating all of these rules, why not just put in the rule that plant milks do not have to be requested, that they'll be offered?
Well, I mean, I think very simply, it should just be that, if vegan and vegetarian foods are being offered right next to omnivorous foods, then plant-based milk should be offered right alongside traditional dairy milk.
Yeah. So these rules kind of emphasize the grip that the Dairy Association has on the school lunch and breakfast programs.
To a certain degree, yeah.
That it's mandated that
milk is still included.
Milk is included. Like, I remember even when I was in school, you had to take the milk, whether you wanted it or not. They didn't care. They would put it on your tray. If you didn't want it, you threw it away. It was ridiculous, but you had to take it.
I don't remember. I really don't remember how that went.
Yeah. And like I said, I think some of those things are decided on a district by district basis.
Sure.
But there does have to be dairy milk provided.
Right. Yeah, I don't remember how it worked in our elementary school. I mean, by the time we got to high school, like, you kind of paid for things individually.
Yeah, it was kind of more a la carte.
It was a little more a la carte.
Yeah.
So, like, you could pay for the meal, but you weren't required to have every component. You know, like, you could get the meal, but you didn't have to have milk. You could get juice, or there was even a soda machine, I think, in our cafeteria at the time.
There were no soda machines when I was in school.
So that was a possibility. And there was definitely, in our high school, there was one counter that was all just snack food. It was all pure crap.
Really?
Yes. And of course, that's where most people went to buy things, you know, because it was all of the sweet treats and the chips and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where a lot of money was spent. But I don't remember elementary school. Like, I remember the pathway through the cafeteria, but I don't remember if we were required to take milk.
Yeah. I do have a link that I'm going to include in the show notes to the actual rules, the summary of provisions in the child nutrition program. And you can read through the actual rules yourself, because I wanted to deep dive into especially milk. And on page 4, they talk about milk, and they do not say much about providing plant milk for kids.
Interestingly, some of the other things that they address in these rules are added sugars. So I think it's good that they're really starting to look at the amount of sugar that goes into a lot of processed foods.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. They're also addressing sodium, which I think is good because, again, processed foods tend to be high in sodium.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. I do appreciate that they have meats/meat alternatives.
Yeah.
At breakfast, substituting vegetables for fruits at breakfast. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
The idea that vegetables and fruits can, to a certain degree, be interchangeable. I know I tend to eat vegetables far more than fruit in the morning. If it's a one or the other proposition, I'm going to have cucumbers before I have a banana.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is a good thing that they include traditional indigenous foods and substituting vegetables for grains in tribal communities.
Absolutely. You know, there's a whole section on beans, peas, and lentils at lunch, nuts and seeds, all of those kinds of things. So I think that's really great.
Yes, and there is a section in here called the bean dip exemption. So like that article said, that is another good thing, that hummus and other bean dips are being excluded from the fats section. Mm-hmm. Because they're good fats. So yes, that is a plus.
Yes. Well, and most bean dips, unless they're adding in fat, like hummus is not a high fat food.
No.
There's not a lot of fat in chickpeas.
No, but it's the tahini.
It's the tahini.
Yeah.
Right. But tahini is a healthy fat.
It's a healthy fat. Yeah. And it's a limited amount of fat that's added to it.
It is. Yeah.
So anyway, I'll include a link to the actual rules if you want to read through them yourself, if you're interested.
Sounds good.
And that brings us to our main topic. In our main topic this week, we're going to be talking about a piece that was written by Mariann Sullivan, who is a lecturer in law of animal law at Columbia Law School. She also hosts the Animal Law podcast, as well as co-hosts the Our Hen House podcast with co-host Jasmine Singer. And she recently wrote this piece on her Substack. It's actually hers and Jasmine's Substack that's called Avoiding Grief. If it were possible to stop knowing what is happening to animals, would you? And so I thought we would go over this because it's really, really well written. And I think it's a subject that doesn't get a whole lot of exposure.
And so here we go. In a recent, rather ill-fated conversation between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, Musk mentioned in a conversation about the purportedly overstated dangers of nuclear energy that Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, but now they are full cities again. That's great. That's great, Trump responded. In its cavalier attitude toward the enormous, incalculable suffering and death caused by these bombs, this was obviously a deeply odd and troubled thing to say, and it was widely called out as such. Though, as with most things in the barrage of odd and troubled behavior by Trump, it was quickly washed away in the unending onslaught. But I remembered it in particular because of how redolent it was of many people's attitude toward animal populations. As long as the population rebounds, as long as the species goes on, as long as the city is rebuilt, the lives of the individuals are basically interchangeable. As the outcry at the time demonstrated, that's not how most normal people think about individual human lives. While enormity of and distance from suffering does reduce the emotional impact, they don't generally completely erase a fundamental awareness that individual human lives matter. For that matter, it is not how many people think about the lives of at least some individual animals. Many people are fully capable of taking the loss or suffering of an individual animal seriously, certainly if that animal is one that we know. But even if they are one that we see on a dodo video or hear about on the news. But when it comes to mass murder, the death of hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, the emotional calculation, certainly for animals, but for people as well, changes. In fact, it sometimes disappears. How does the activist deal with this? Obviously, one crucial part of animal advocacy is to attempt to get people to see the individuals making up the mass. In fact, the dodo and websites like it, at least the legit ones, are doing some of this essential work and doing it powerfully. By telling the stories of individual animals and the humans who care about them, they are helping people take a crucial step toward taking animals seriously. This is also part of the strategy of direct action everywhere, with its custom of naming the formerly nameless, identityless animals they pluck from factory farms and telling the story of what happens to them. But to get people to evolve from attention to the single individual to the mass of individuals, we may need something more. The sympathy that these videos provoke doesn't seem to be, by itself, big enough to make the leap of thinking of all the pigs and chickens in the factory farm as individuals. One thing that might be getting in the way of people taking that leap is the unbelievable level of grief that ensues once we have made it. Dodo videos don't have unhappy endings, and we know that going in. To withstand the grief of the billions of incredibly unhappy endings that come from seeing what is happening on factory farms, people may need to understand that the reward is greater than the pain. But of course, it's not. How many times have you tried to tell someone what happens to animals? Nothing exaggerated, just the truth. And their eyes glaze over and you know they are no longer hearing you. Or they even say to you, "Don't tell me, don't tell me, don't tell me." They are literally telling you that they cannot bear to know this. It is too painful. It is unbearable to know. And unlike perhaps you, their psychological defense mechanisms are such that they are actually able to not know it. So they don't. Why are they better at this than you are? I wish I knew. Maybe people just differ, as they do in so many other ways, in their talent for denial. We all have it, of course. It's a vital tool in surviving trauma of any kind and moving on to live your life and reproduce. Our species would not have made it this far without the ability to ignore what's happening over there and just move on. But it seems entirely possible that some of us may just be better at denial than others. If you could avoid grief, would you? I mean, it's easy to say no when you are not in the midst of it, but would you really? That hideous, unrelenting pain. That moment after you wake up when, for a second, you don't yet remember, and then it crashes in on you. If you could shut it off, wouldn't you? For the most common types of grief, there is, of course, no possibility of completely avoiding it. When a loved one dies, there you are. When a beloved pet dies, there you are. They are gone. You are in it. But other types of grief are definitely avoidable, and we all avoid them all the time. We all know that terrible things happen in the world. All the time. But we simply cannot afford to grieve them all. Perhaps a moment of sympathy or sadness, perhaps even a donation to relieve suffering. But then we all move on with our lives. Does that make us monsters? Probably. But it also makes us human, and it also allows us to survive. So how? As those who are unable or unwilling to let the grief we feel about animals just drift by, can we convince everyone else to enter into this terrible sadness, at least enough to allow them to stop participating in causing it? We've all heard about the techniques for dealing with the stages of grief, i.e., denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And it's now generally accepted that these stages don't normally go in order, but are all parts of the ongoing process of circling the hideous pain and facing it and moving beyond it. Do these stages help in thinking about the way people deal with the knowledge that animals are being subjected to horror right now, everywhere, in numbers so vast we can't process them? Well, let's consider the stages one by one. Denial, obviously. That's where most people are. They just manage somehow to not think about it. Anger. Well, as activists, we do know about that, so yeah. Sometimes they get mad at us for telling them. But it doesn't seem to go further than that, i.e. to getting mad at the factory farms. Bargaining. I don't know about this one. It seems to me that the bargain most people strike is with other people. If you don't think about this and tell me about this, I won't think about it and tell you. We, the vegans, are the ones who break that bargain. Depression. Yeah. It's when people allow themselves to live with the depression and sadness and the effing tragedy of it all that they change. But often, this circles really quickly back into denial. Acceptance. This is really tough. This may be the real stumbling block. With much grief, you need to accept the reality and move forward with your life. It doesn't mean that things are okay or the sadness stops, but it gets better. It gets softer. With the grief that comes from knowing what we are doing to animals, what can acceptance even mean? We cannot and don't want to accept any of it. We can stop participating, but how much does that accomplish? The best we can do is fight in whatever way we can manage. I wish we had some sort of peace to offer to those who are willing to wake up and let go of the denial. This probably includes you, if you are reading this. I mean, one can hardly blame people for not wanting to sign up to this grief since you never get to move on. The horror just keeps happening. I would say, to be fair, that even for most animal activists, as humans, we still do manage to put it aside sufficiently to feel some happiness and joy and lots of good things. I don't know how, and I'm not sure it's something I'm proud of, but I don't think about the suffering all the time. I just don't. I put it somewhere. But the fact that there is occasional respite from the sadness is hardly enough to motivate anyone to sign on. So what can we tell people are the rewards of taking animals seriously? The best I can say is that it has something to do with the fact that denial is the enemy of truth, And one way to think about the purpose of life is, arguably, to know as much truth as we can manage and to do as little harm as possible. And, to be a bit more woo, to be true to the flame that burns within us, that is the core of who we are. Is there any way to make this sound sane? Whether there is nothing else, or there is a spiritual reality that we don't understand, or there is a God paying close attention, when you take into account all of the things that people believe form their core being and give their life meaning, for most of us, all of those things point to not tolerating and certainly never supporting what happens on a factory farm. Because as horrible as it is to think about, those in that factory farm are not a faceless mob, but a group of individuals, each of whom matter. Once we lose the focus on the individual, the grief may subside, but we are no longer fully living in the world, because that is how we live, all of us, one by one. To not see that is the root of all evil. To see it is to embrace life, as painful as it may be.
She's a really good writer.
Yes, she is. Oh my gosh, that was an absolute delight to read. Wow.
Yeah. And I will include a link to the X's and O's Substack, so you can read that for yourself and read through some of the other postings by both Mariann and by Jasmine Singer, because there's some really great writing going on there.
Yes, there sure is.
And most of it focuses on veganism. So,
Yep.
And if you're not familiar with Mariann and Jasmine's podcast, Our Hen House, it's a vegan staple podcast. Mm-hmm. They've been podcasting for, I want to say, more than 10 years.
Wow.
And then Mariann also has another podcast that I mentioned, Animal Law, where she has on guests and they discuss, the current changes in animal law and stuff like that. So
awesome.
Definitely check out both of their podcasts and that Substack. And that brings us to our assignment restaurant SOS.
This week, Jerry Adams White nominated this Pennsylvania vegan spot, the Vegetable Hunter.
And I love the name, Vegetable Hunter.
Yeah,
That's
the
great.
name is really great. They have two locations. The first is at 614 North 2nd Street in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And the second is at 121 Town Square Drive in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Their mission is to bring delicious vegan food and drinks and all of their benefits to the world.
And like we always like to do, we're going to take a look at their menu, because that's my favorite part of doing this.
And the part of the menu that just happened to come up is kind of my favorite, because handhelds.
The sandwiches.
I love sandwiches.
Yeah.
Absolutely love them. And so we came right up on the sandwiches, and we've got a banh mi. We've got an eggplant Reuben.
That's what I would be getting.
Count me in.
Yeah, what's in it's roasted eggplant, sauerkraut, and Thousand Island dressing on a grilled rye.
Like,
that sounds delicious.
It does. It sounds fantastic. They have a cheesesteak that looks absolutely beautiful, mushrooms, roasted green peppers and onions, marinated tofu topped with house-made cheese sauce, with fresh jalapeno slices. So this is going to be a cheesesteak with a little bit of bite to it, which sounds fantastic. They've got a pesto grilled cheese sandwich and a pesto mac and cheese pita. Okay. So a pita filled with mac and cheese, spinach pesto, and sour cream.
That sounds delicious. I
don't know that I could do that, but it sounds right up your street.
Yeah, it's definitely up my alley. And I love that it seems like most of their offerings are like whole foods. They're not using meat replacers or anything,
right,
which is fabulous. I love it when a restaurant uses whole food.
They also have some beautiful looking chicken sandwiches. So like and this would be somewhere I would be going, the buffalo blue cheese chicken sandwich. Mm-hmm. I love that combination of buffalo sauce and blue cheese. So it is a spicy battered buffalo tofu chicken, creamy blue cheese, lettuce, tomato, onion on a grilled bun. I would absolutely be up for that. They also have a barbecue mac and cheese chicken sandwich. So their battered tofu chicken, barbecue sauce, mac and cheese, a mayo sauce on a bun. So you're getting mac and cheese on a sandwich.
I love that. I love that.
How could you not?
They have a whole hot dog section, and it sounds like they make their own hot dogs. It's a seitan hot dog.
Oh, nice.
They have a nacho dog with the seitan hot dog and chipotle black beans, nacho cheese, ketchup, and mustard on a toasted bun. Barbecued mac and cheese hot dog. So they like to put the mac and cheese in their sandwiches and stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
And a chana hot dog.
Yeah, nice.
With chana masala and sriracha mayo.
And the chana masala also comes up in the bowls section of the menu. So chana masala is a savory Indian chickpea stew. It is actually one of my favorite dishes.
It's so good.
I absolutely adore chana masala.
Yeah.
And that is served over rice with a sriracha mayo drizzle. They also have a beautiful looking superfood salads. This is a kale salad with chickpea salad, thyme roasted sweet potatoes, quinoa, spicy raw beet salad, house-made hummus, and savory tofu. That sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, they have an entire breakfast menu. Looks like they make a vegan chicken and waffles, sunflower sausage breakfast bagel. That sounds good. Sunflower sausage, chickpea scramble, avocado, whole grain mustard aioli, and a side of kale or chickpea salad. And then, of course, like I said, their chicken and waffles, which is a tofu fried chicken, pumpkin waffles, and rosemary tahini gravy.
Okay, I'm in.
Come on.
That sounds absolutely ridiculous. I mean, and not only that, but there's a picture of the chicken and waffles.
Yeah, it's pretty
at
incredible.
the top of the breakfast listing, and it looks phenomenal.
That's making me hungry.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah. And then they have cupcakes and donuts for dessert.
Love that.
They actually have apparently their own brewery. They added a boutique brewery in 2017, and they specialize in small batch brewing using fresh and unexpected ingredients. So I'd love to check out their, they have a separate brew menu. I'm going to check that out.
Ooh.
I don't know how many of you are interested in brews, but they have a beer on tap called the Vegetable Hunter, which is a wild cherry bomb farmhouse ale. They have Smells Like Tangerine Spirit, which is a blonde golden ale. Yeah, these look good.
They've got a Strawberry Garcia.
Strawberry Garcia.
Nice. I'm loving the names.
Hempzilla. Lavender Lemon Kombucha.
There you go.
So, yeah, their food looks really
great.
good. Yeah, and this what we're looking at here is the Harrisburg menu. Not sure if the Hershey menu is
I'm going to check it out.
Very different from that, but
oh, well, the Hershey menu has some build your own stuff going on.
oh yeah, it looks more maybe fast foody kind of a little bit.
But they've also got signature meals. So, and these are some of the things that were on the Harrisburg menu as well. They've got a kale and sweet potato bowl. They have a ranch and bacon chicken sandwich, and they are using coconut bacon. So that's awesome. They've got some nachos, a crab cake sandwich, and a breakfast burrito, which is not on the Harrisburg menu. And that's chickpea scramble, cilantro rice, and chipotle black beans.
That sounds good.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I love the whole build your own. Like everything's like build your own salad, build your own nachos, build your own burrito.
Yeah, hello. I
Yeah.
love build your own food.
Yeah.
Buildable food is just one of my things.
Good stuff. So
Love
if
it.
you are in the Harrisburg or Hershey, Pennsylvania area, please do not forget to stop at the Vegetable Hunter in one of their locations and bring your friends and family. And don't forget, if you have a favorite vegan restaurant, to drop us a line, let us know what it is, what you usually order, and all the good things. And we'll add them to our list.
We sure will.
It's time for our favorite portion of the show.
Must be listener shout out time.
It's listener shout out.
Just want to give a shout out to all my fans watching. I love you guys. I love you.
This week, we are shouting out one of our table mates from Friday's Meatless Raffle. Lynn, it's all about you. We know you listen to the show, but you said that you're not the kind of person to bring attention to yourself, so we're doing it for you.
That's right.
Lynn, you are this week's shout out. Thank you so much for listening, and it was an absolute blast meeting you on Friday.
It really was. Yeah. Thanks for listening, Lynn. And please contact us with your t-shirt size and address so that we can send you a Compassion and Cucumber swag bag. You can either text us using the link in our show notes or email us at compassionandcucumbers@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram or Facebook.
And for the rest of you out there, if you want a listener shout out, please text, email, or DM Christine. Let us know what you think of the show and tell us a little bit about yourself. You can also nominate someone else for a shout out. And don't forget, a shout out enters you into our Meeson Chef Knife giveaway later this year.
And now it's time for our Vegan Org of the Week. This week's Vegan Org of the Week is 4 Paws.
4 Paws provides a safe home for wildlife, such as big cats, bears, orangutans, and elephants rescued from non-species appropriate keeping conditions around the world. 4 Paws fights for ethical and morally flawless behavior towards animals, insisting on compliance with standards and the establishment of animal welfare labels. In cooperation with countries and communities, the aim is to ensure that animals are protected by laws and regulations and that these laws are strictly enforced. We see this as a basis for achieving justice and fairness in the treatment of animals and for restoring order. For more information or to support the work that they do, you can go to 4pawsusa.org.
Yes, and if you're not in the USA, you can go to just 4paws.org because they are a global organization.
Awesome.
And just like that, it's time to wrap it up. I have a couple of things I want you to do. And here they are.
That's new.
Here they are. Send us your favorite vegan recipes. Send us show ideas. Let us know you listen. Just drop us a line. Also, please join the Agriculture Fairness Alliance's Vegan Voter Hub. We always put the link in the show notes, so click the link and join the Voter Hub. And don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app and subscribe to our YouTube. You can leave us a rating and a review.
And with that, it's time to sign off. You have just listened to episode 156 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast, and there's nothing left to say but where cukes and compassion are always the fashion.
On the podcast. Thanks, James.
Have a great week, everyone.
And we'll talk to you next Tuesday.
We love you.
We really do. Bye-bye.
The end.
If you'd like to support the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast, well, you can do that by hopping on over to our Patreon page and becoming a patron. We have all the recipes from our Vegan Kitchen series up there, and we'll be adding some patron-only episodes in the near future. So thank you for supporting us at whatever level that you choose, and thank you again for listening to Compassion and Cucumbers podcast.